Former Illini star Ayo Dosunmu, is he ready to jump to that next level and become an NBA All-Star? Locked On Illini, let's go.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to another episode of the weekend edition of Locked On Illini. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single day. Simple reminder, we are free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So reminder, I think we're about day 15 or 16 days straight of content here on YouTube. So if you'd like to support the channel, it costs you guys nothing. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're getting so close to that 1,000 mark, and I really would love to hit that level before the football season starts. Obviously, weekend edition, I like to explore topics which are maybe not necessarily fully 100% Illini, although this one is, and this one's talking about former Illini great Ayo Dosunmu and his trajectory in the NBA, both his past and his future. And for that, I'm bringing on Morris Bankston from On Tap Bulls. Morris, thank you so much for coming on today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Morris, before we get started, can you let the folks know where they can find you?
Absolutely, yes. So I'm a writing contributor for On Tap Sportsnet, and specifically Bulls On Tap within On Tap Sportsnet. So you can find all my work out there. And then, socials. I'm on the artist formerly known as Twitter. We call it X now. I'm at Mo Bankston.
All right. Yeah, perfect. Definitely check out their work. They do a fantastic job. You get content almost every single day. I'll put a link in the description. So Morris, Ayo just completed his third season. I have my thoughts. First year, I think he surprised everybody. But, I mean, if you're an Illini fan, you were surprised that he fell that far to begin with. So to me, it wasn't really that much of a surprise. I always thought from watching Ayo every single day in college, he'd be one of those guys who, for sure, whatever team drafted him would have a guy who'd play 6 to 10 years in the NBA. So the fact that he fell that far surprised many of us. What are your thoughts, on his first 3 seasons in the NBA?
Yeah, I think first 3 seasons on the Chicago Bulls, it's had, I guess, like a good way to, I would frame it. I think it's certainly been somewhat of a mixed bag. His first season was, definitely a season where I think he established his presence within the Bulls roster. Felt like pretty quickly, honestly, all things considered. Because I have to think back to that season a bit. Didn't feel like I'll contrast Ayo's journey on the Bulls with some of the other sort of younger core folks on the roster right now. I mean, you look at you compare Ayo's trajectory to say like a Dalen Terry or even Julian Phillips. There's probably conventional wisdom that given where Ayo was drafted, he was going to spend a ton of time in the G League with the Windy City Bulls, and that almost that went out the door pretty quickly. He was picking up regular rotation minutes. In his first season, we found Ayo taking on some pretty challenging defensive assignments up front. So I think that first season was a really solid outing for him. Then you start to look to what Ayo experienced in his second sophomore season within the NBA. Most people would fairly say there's a slump there that was observed in primarily Ayo's offense. There was a shooting regression. That was challenging for him. But then we moved to this past season, the 23-24 season. In his third season, I thought Ayo did an amazing job of just really bouncing back from a less than desirable sophomore season campaign. And, he was able to, kind of turn around his numbers. And she saw some impressive offensive rebounding out of him as well in that third season. And there's a piece I wrote actually early back in January this past season, at the mid-season point of this past Bull season. I noticed there was a resiliency that Ayo had put together where, you started seeing the shooting coming together, especially his 3-point shot. There's been some improvements there. His activity on the offensive glass was great, and overall, it seemed like the challenges, wherever they were, that Ayo, the hangups he had, he quickly kind of pushed off to the side and just found a natural rhythm for himself.
So obviously, like Io did sign a long-term extension with the Bulls, so it looks like he's going to be with the Bulls for a little while. But under what role? Obviously, the Chicago Bulls this offseason are going, kind of revamping their roster almost entirely. But there's a will they, won't they trade Zach LaVine? Caruso is already traded now. Again, I come with a little bias, but I would love the idea of Io kind of assuming that Caruso role on teams moving forward. But let me ask you, Morris, like someone who covers the Chicago Bulls, what kind of role do you think Io can have on the team next year and beyond that?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. When I think about like the skill sets that I see in Io within the NBA, I am familiar with Io's Big Ten career as well. I should say, full disclosure, I actually am a Purdue Boilermaker, but I'm wearing Bulls
that's
stuff
gross.
right
Interview over. My bad. Cut.
Sorry, I can't sit here. I can't just sit here and pretend like that's not going to be a thing. So that's all I'll say. I've seen a good amount of Io's trajectory even before the Bulls, and it's challenging, right, with NBA players, college players transitioning to the NBA, and especially if you've seen them in a well-defined role, which I would say Ayo had when he was when he was an Illini. Ayo seems to me to be progressing towards, certainly a combo guard type of role as opposed to a pure point guard. And I would suspect, being an NBA point guard is a challenging thing, and it's not necessarily a one-for-one translation being a point guard at the NCAA level, and certainly not in the Big Ten level as well. My philosophy personally, when I think about point guard, it's very important that an NBA point guard be a credible scoring threat at all levels of the floor. And that's not to say that Ayo can't score. He certainly can score, but there's still some development areas within his game in terms of his scoring, especially with, juggling the act of ball handling as well. Where I don't know if he's ever going to get there personally in terms of being a point guard, but I don't think he needs to be that. Rather, I think what Ayo is able to contribute on the defensive end, continue to lean into that. He's Ayo's also improved his 3-point shooting tremendously this past year. I'll just take a quick look at what he shot this year from three. Ayo shot almost four 3-point attempts at 40%, which is, that's good shooting in the NBA. So I think continuing to lean in that. And so some folks would say, 3-and-D archetype. And there's some of that, but I don't want to just leave it at that sort of surface level description. What I would like to see in Ayo is continue to grow in his defensive strength and actually be a more versatile defender. We consider Ayo a combo guard, but there are opportunities where I see him, especially since you mentioned Alex Caruso. Mm-hmm. If Ayo is to progress towards that sort of Alex Caruso mantle, it would be great for Ayo to continue on the defensive end to find opportunities to take on those bigger wing sort of defensive assignments. He did some of that this past season, and small sample size, but if he can grow in more opportunities there to take up those kind of reps, that's something that helps him, I think, continue to evolve his game within the NBA. I would also love to see him bring some versatility in terms of his offensive game to where nobody should question his 3-point shot anymore. There's some wrinkles I think for him to iron out in terms of his finishing at the rim and what he does inside the 3-point arc. And it's a very similar dynamic, I think, that what we saw as Bulls fans with Kobe White as well. Kobe White took a big leap this past season, but even I covered a lot of Kobe, really his ascension and his growth and his development. It started in that second half of the 22-23 season, where Kobe, after just about that All-Star game period last year or the previous season, Kobe started to take an ascension where he had tighter handle. He was able to start attacking the rim, getting downhill more effectively. I see some of that is similar opportunities for development for Ayo as well, to where if he can find opportunities where I think the key areas where you're most likely to see Ayo's scoring efficiency or scoring impact show up is 3-point shots and corner threes, and if he's able to get off into transition or get into fast breaks. It's that in between of catch and shoot three or taking the corner three versus becoming a more well-rounded finisher at the rim at the NBA level, to where he's able to finish through contact, perhaps boost his free throw attempts a bit more. I mean, he's only averaging maybe like one free throw attempt per game, and that's something where that's certainly an opportunity for improvement. So those are things I think about with his game. Forward looking is rounding out the scoring inside the 3-point arc. And then, just continuing to find ways to just be a more versatile defender, something like an Alex Caruso, because, I mean, if he's able to do that, those are the things that then put him into those all NBA defender kind of conversations.
Yeah, it'll be interesting for me to see, if ultimately, Levine gets moved, what happens with Lonzo Ball next year. There's a potential opportunity there where Ayo, gets a lot of minutes for what should be a rebuilding team. Now, it's not fully tank for Cooper Flag team, apparently, according to the owners. But, regardless, it's going to be a team that will maybe be fighting for a playoff spot. Hopefully not, selfishly as a Bulls fan. But yes. Morris, thank you so much for coming on. Can you one more time let the folks know where they can find your stuff?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can find me again. I write, contribute as part of the On Tap Sportsnet. And then specifically for Bulls on Tap at On Tap Sportsnet. You can find this on the web and then on the socials as well. I'm on X at Mo Bankston.
Thank you for your time today, Morris.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you.
And there you have it. Another weekend edition of Locked On Illini wrapping up. On your way out, if you can hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, I'd sincerely appreciate it. Trying to do my best here to provide you daily Illini content, and you guys all make it worth it, with all your interactions. I appreciate every single one of you. Otherwise, you guys go ahead and enjoy your weekends, and I'll see you next time. ILL, love you guys.